Alright, today we're going to look at how to put a regular LED on the Cortex through an extension cable versus the VEX LED. So here is the Cortex, and I want to kind of explain some of the ports on the Cortex for you. When you look in the digital and analog, there are actually 3 holes for that. And if we look at a schematic of the Cortex, those 3 holes represent the outside one is ground, the middle one is VCC, so that's your plus 5 volts, and then your third one is your signal line. So this signal line allows us to either send a signal to it or retrieve a signal from it. So it can be a digital input or a digital output. These digital ports can. So if we look at the way an LED is plugged in, so plugs into the Cortex with a keyed connector, and we pull that out of there, and we look at the way it's oriented, this is how it comes out of the Cortex. So it is connected to the VCC and the signal lines. And I'm going to draw a picture of the LED, what that looks like, because it's really tough to tell what the polarity of an LED is if you don't, well, first of all, it's rectangular, so you don't have a round with a flat on it, and you can't tell by the length of the leads, so we have to look at the internal structure of the LED. And if you look at it, you can see that one side has this kind of shape, and the other one has this kind of shape. So this is what I call the flag side of the LED. But if we were looking at just a regular LED, like this one, and we looked inside it, and you look at the geometry inside there, the flag side is the negative side because it has a flat spot on it on the LED. It's kind of tough to tell from the video, but there you go, you can see it. That is actually that bezel there is flat on that side. And that is the flag side inside of that LED. It's a little tough to tell in the video that that's the flag side. You can kind of see it right there. So this is the negative side of our LED, and this is the positive side, which should make sense. If this is the positive side, it has to be plugged into VCC. If this is the negative side, then we can adjust the signal. If it's a 5-volt signal coming in, and we have 5 volts here, then we have no potential difference. So with a 5 volt, it actually is off. And then we can send it a signal of like 0 volts, and then it turns on. Okay, and now we don't actually want to send it a 0 volt. It's somewhere in between. It's kind of like a 3 volt or a 2 volt signal that comes in. That way we only have a potential difference of 3 volts, so we don't burn out our LEDs. But that's essentially what you're doing. So this is equal to a 1, and this is equal to a 0. Now this is backward from conventional thinking. Usually we think, okay, we're going to give it a 1 to turn it on and a 0 to turn it off. But this is how it's wired up in the Cortex, and in Robot C they've actually made the adjustment so that you're actually they just invert it, so you give it a 1 to turn it on and a 0 to turn it off. But in reality, this is what's happening. So how do we hook it up to the Cortex using an extension? So I don't want to plug this LED right in here anymore. I want to use maybe an extension wire, to bring it somewhere else on my build. Well, to do that, again, if you plug the extension wire in, maybe use port 11, you can see that my colors match up with what I've written down. So my black is ground, my red is VCC, and my white is the signal line. So I need to make sure that I'm staying consistent with that when I plug this in. So again, I'm going to make sure that the flag side is in the signal line. So when I plug it in, it's going to go into the white side of this. You can see the flag there going into the white. So I'm going to just put on a simple program here. Move this to the side. So I just wrote a basic program. So I've set up my digital 11 pin to be an LED, and I just blink the light, half-second blinks. So I'm going to download that to my Cortex. And start, and I'll go back here, and we can see it's blinking right there. So that's how we set up an LED with an extension wire. Now what if we just want to use regular LEDs? Because personally I'm cheap, and buying a bunch of these VEX LEDs is expensive, where you can buy cheapy LEDs for a heck of a lot cheaper. I mean, these are like 5 cents a piece, maybe a penny a piece to 5 cents a piece, where these are, I think they're $1 a piece. So it's crazy. Usually what I do is I trim off these leads, because if you take this out and I plug this in, again, I'm looking for the flag side to go in the signal, so the same thing. And I can actually just plug these into this hole here, and you can actually see that it's blinking as well. So it just plugs in, and it does what the other one was doing. But if you notice, I've got way too much lead sticking out there. So usually what I do is I figure out, okay, I'm going to clip so that there's only about 3/8 of an inch or so remaining. So I'm going to just come up here, clip, and make sure my flag side is in the signal side. And now you can see that that's a lot cleaner. It's tighter to the package there, and it's still blinking.